There's a few brand new Nintendo Switch stories we have to talk about today, starting with a new game sale that just went live that you may want to look into, as it has some of the staple must-own Switch games. If you don't already have them in your library, now may be a good time to pull the trigger. Then we also have to talk about Nintendo Switch Sports, a new gameplay that just hit the internet, and why I am more hyped for this game's April release than ever. Then the big talking point for today's video is a conversation around the continued momentum of the Nintendo Switch console, how it continues to lead the charts month in and month out in total unit sales, and what this means for any kind of potential successor to the Nintendo Switch going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we got a few different stories to discuss today, and we have to kick it off with a discussion around a brand new sale that just went live at both Best Buy and Amazon with some staple must-own Nintendo Switch games. And to go over the list of what's on sale and the prices you can find these at, let's quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything, where they have the detailed article typed up, so let's read through this together. Switch game sale includes Zelda, Mario, Fire Emblem, Splatoon 2, Xenoblade, and Miitopia. Amazon and Best Buy have kicked off a new sale on some notable first-party Switch games. The lineup includes The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Splatoon 2, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and Miitopia. Along with the physical versions, the digital eShop releases are included in the sale at Best Buy. Almost all of these titles can be had for $39.99. Miitopia is the one exception, as that's been lowered to $29.99. Nearly everything here typically costs $60, though Miitopia is again the exception, as that one started out at $50. So I wanted to quickly highlight that sale available at both Amazon and Best Buy, just because, you know, if you like your games physically, you can buy them physically as part of this sale. If you like your games digitally, apparently at Best Buy, you can buy the digital cards for the games at that discounted price as well. So it's a win-win situation if you don't own any of those staple Switch classics. Now, I own all of them except for Miitopia myself, but coming in at $30, while I'm not that hyped for Miitopia and didn't get on the train whenever that game first came out, it's something that at $30, I may just pick it up and add it to my backlog of games, and once I get some extra time, go ahead and boot it up and see if it's enjoyable. One notable thing about Miitopia is the fact that it is a 3DS port that then came to the Switch with up-res graphics, and I really wish Nintendo would do that with more 3DS games. There are definitely some classic titles that I would love to play again on the Switch. Looking at you, Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, that is a masterpiece of a game, and definitely hope one day we could see it make it to the Switch. But regardless of all the 3DS port talk, the other titles like the Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Fire Emblem Three Houses, all of that stuff for coming in at $40 is just quite honestly a steal in my opinion. So definitely let me know in the comments down below whether or not you are planning on looking at this sale and picking up any of the games that maybe you don't have, or if you're like me and you have most of them other than Miitopia, and whether or not you'll be considering getting anything that is discounted on this list. So please share all your thoughts and feelings on the brand new Switch game sale in the comments down below. Now, the next story we're talking about today has to do with Nintendo Switch Sports, as this game is out on April 29th this month. And for me personally, as somebody who did grow up playing Wii Sports for fun, and it was that definitely casual breakout game that everybody got to experience together, it was probably one of the first games you could ever play with your grandparent that knows nothing about video games and doesn't have any clue on how to press buttons on a controller, and there's a total disconnect. But what they did understand is, hey, grandpa, go ahead and throw the bowling ball forward as if you were at a bowling alley, and that stuff connected, and it was a big deal as it came packaged in with the Wii. We all know the success story of the 100 million plus units that console sold, so obviously a lot of gamers and non-gamers got to enjoy a really marquee experience, and Nintendo once again wants to capture some of the broader audience with releasing a sequel to this game known as Nintendo Switch Sports. And while I am disappointed that there is not boxing in this game, as I spent tons of hours just fighting against my friends trying to knock them out, and you would actually see some rather hilarious knockout punches where the Miis just dropped straight to the floor, and it was fun to watch on replay. I don't know where boxing's at. Hopefully it gets added in later on. This game will initially launch with 6 different sports: soccer, volleyball, bowling, tennis, badminton, and chambara, which is actually swordplay. I think that's how you say it, is chambara. I'm not even sure what that is exactly, but essentially it looks like 2 people fighting with a sword and you're trying to strike them. So definitely some new sports being added in this time around. I believe in the Nintendo Direct trailer, when they first showed off this game, they talked about adding in golf as a free update later on. Maybe they'll continue continue the support with this game and add in even more sports as we go and bring back the boxing that I want to see. But I'm probably most hyped for bowling myself, and I will be interested to play through soccer as well. Both of those things kind of caught my interest. I'm excited for things like online play to be added into this game, and the incorporation of an online leaderboard will be a very nice addition and something that if you want to get competitive, you certainly can with this title. And the reason it is in the news today is apparently Nintendo has allowed for certain preview copies that have been sent out. There's been some kind of embargo lifted where people can now talk about it and share the gameplay, as there was closed beta tests, but Nintendo made a huge deal about not sharing any of that information. I did not partake in that, so I don't have any extra info on what this game has to offer, but there are a ton of new gameplay videos out there. I'll have one in the description down below linked from Game Explain, where they have basically an 11-minute video showing capture of various different sports and how they play. And it's just something that as we get closer to its April 29th release, I will be happy to once again use some motion controls on the Switch and enjoy these classic sport games in Nintendo Switch Sports. So please share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below around Nintendo Switch Sports, whether or not you're planning on picking up the game at release or if it's one that you will pass up on altogether. Now, the last story we're talking about today is a conversation in light of some brand new sales numbers around the unprecedented continued success of the Nintendo Switch platform, really where Nintendo views this thing in its life cycle, as we've seen them say time and time again over the years that it's only in the halfway point of its life cycle, and we are now fully in the 5th year of this thing being sold and available on retail shelves. As it originally launched back in March of 2017, we are now into April of 2022 at the time of filming this video. So clearly the Nintendo Switch has been a huge smash hit success for Nintendo, and recently with the delay announcement of Breath of the Wild 2 to spring of 2023, there has been a lot of talk and speculation ramping back up around whether or not Nintendo may be planning some kind of successor, more powerful hardware, maybe just the Switch Pro that was been long rumored, or whatever they call it, hopefully Super Nintendo Switch for nostalgia reasons. But regardless of what they are planning with that, the reason the sales numbers are in the news today is VG Charts has some brand new numbers that again put the Switch at the top of the charts in terms of the big 3 consoles right now. And I want to quickly read through their article first, then have a discussion around how Nintendo can continue to capitalize on this sales momentum and whether or not it is time for something like more powerful hardware to hit the market in the near future. So let's quickly hop over to VG Charts to read through this article together. Xbox Series X and S outsells PS5 again. Worldwide hardware estimates for March 27th through April 2nd sales. Nintendo Switch was the best-selling console with 346,000 units sold for the week ending April 2nd, according to VG Charts estimates. The Switch has now sold an estimated 106.49 million units lifetime. The Xbox Series X and S sold 232,000 units to bring their lifetime sales up to 13.89 million units. The PlayStation 5 sold an estimated 191,000 units to bring its lifetime sales to 18.80 million units. Nintendo Switch sales compared to the same week a year ago are down by 171,000 units or 33.1%, while the PS5 is down 52,000 units or 21%, and the Xbox Series X and S is up by 117,000 units or 101%. So while you can look at that and say, wow, Nintendo Switch is actually outselling brand new next generation hardware that is on the market from both Sony and Microsoft, there is also a conversation to be had about the supply issues that really hit those companies hard, and Microsoft actually doubling down and apparently spending a lot more money to get more Series X and S systems out there, which is really leading to their big sales advantage right now, at least from the sounds of it. And it's an interesting landscape that we find ourselves in 2022, where it seems like whoever can produce the most hardware units actually sells the most. And of course, Nintendo having that aged Tegra X1, it is a little bit easier to secure that 2015 original chip than sold in the Nintendo Switch in 2017 to get it on the market, as opposed to these brand new, more powerful chipsets that Sony and Microsoft are trying to source. And one thing I do want to point out, while it is great news that Nintendo continues to lead the pack and can get the Switch units out there, at least to somewhat meet demand while we are in this chip shortage situation, it is still an interesting number to look at, a 33% decrease year over year in what the Switch did essentially this time exactly in this month last year versus what they are doing now. Now, obviously that stuff can fluctuate year to year as well based off what kind of games are launching and which ones are technically new system sellers versus which ones are not, but 33% down is still a notable number. And I do truly wonder where Nintendo's mindset is at with the Nintendo Switch life cycle, as do you just wait longer, don't release any more revisions, and then in something like 2024, or even stretch it out till 2025, and we just get a true brand new experience console that's maybe not even the same form factor or similar to the Switch at all, as we have had direct quotes from President Shintaro Furukawa that in order to do a new generation, Nintendo clearly feels like they need to create a new experience each time around to justify a new generational break in their hardware, and we definitely see them attempt that every time. That's why every Nintendo system is so different one from the other. I personally think that they have struck fire with this hybrid formula and should really double down on it for the next 5 years plus, as until cloud streaming really gets to a zero latency experience, a portable home console will be a huge win and a huge advantage if Nintendo chooses to stick through this route, where gamers clearly want to have the access to play any major first-party Nintendo release at home or on the go if they're traveling, or just take your Switch into the living room and have the ability to sit on the couch and play handheld for a while, then later go into a different room and dock it back to the TV. Like, it's a really incredible experience that you have as a Nintendo Switch gamer, and that's a lot of the reason for the success and what they've created this generation around. And while the hardware is aging and we are seeing brand new games like Kingdom Hearts 4 that just got announced randomly yesterday, a lot of discussion on whether or not that could run on Switch hardware. It's running Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5 can run on Switch hardware, but I think if the Kingdom Hearts series collection being cloud only on the Nintendo Switch at this point tells us anything, it's that Square Enix is not putting the extra effort into making native ports run on the Switch, which is where you have to realize that if we did have a truly more powerful GPU NVIDIA chip that does DLSS upscaling to 4K and can just handle heavier loads, I think we see more of those mainline AAA games make it to Nintendo Switch, and that's where I am hopeful that maybe in the year of 2023, whether it be alongside the launch of Breath of the Wild 2 or not, that we get something that is more powerful. And I know that's a divisive statement, especially if you just recently upgraded to an OLED model, like I did as well, because I was ready for a better handheld play experience. I think if Nintendo's going to see any kind of slight decline in their numbers, they may want to double down and create new hardware to actually extend the life cycle out for a few more years and still keep it in that Switch family of systems branding, as opposed to doing a hard break and starting on a brand new hardware generation, where I think even in Nintendo's own words, you can look at them probably trying something new and ambitious and different than what the Switch concept is today. So regardless, Nintendo's in a different place here than they were in the Wii U era by far, and I do think, especially if we get some kind of further more powerful revision of the Switch, that we could truly be calling this the best-selling home console of all time, period. And at this point in the video, guys, I want to hear from you personally on all your thoughts and opinions on the Nintendo Switch. Do you think Nintendo has any kind of revision planned around the corner, or do you think that that was just all a lot of fluff and a lot of the Bloomberg reporting was just inaccurate with them working with 4K dev kits and things? And let me know when you think Nintendo will do either a clean generational break and launch brand new hardware, or do the next revision for the Nintendo Switch. What year do you think that falls in? What time of year? And do you think that it launches alongside of something like Breath of the Wild 2 and they try to repeat their 2017 strategy? So regardless of what you think on all the stories we talked about today, I do want to hear from you guys in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Make sure you check out the weekend video if you haven't already, where we discuss brand new details that just hit the internet around Sega and their super game plan that they're building out over the next 5 years, and a quick conversation around the future of N64 game releases and the schedule that Nintendo will stick to in terms of 1 or maybe even 2 N64 games per month. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.